Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser.
Um, every week I do my definitive rankings videos. I know that a lot of other streamers, you'll do your stuff on Wednesday night, on Thursday, on Friday. And I get that. The podcast that I'm normally part of through my LCS will go in and record something on Tuesday night and get those books out right, because when I'm recording with the owner of the shop, he's trying to press books, or we're all talking about books that we think are hot that people should pick up. So I think my philosophy in releasing my rankings video on a Monday or a Tuesday is sometimes I'm slow to read. I do my rankings on a Monday or a Tuesday because my thought process is I'm interested in looking at everybody's rankings videos before I go to my LCS early that next week, because, while I'm interested in knowing what everybody honestly thinks about the books that they read, I'm more interested in looking at it from a perspective of like, oh shit, I missed that book, and this is a book that I want to go kind of check out afterwards. So sometimes I will cheat, and instead of picking one book of the week, I'll go like, here are the 6 books you shouldn't get. And that was honestly the feeling I got from this week's pile of books, that I had 17 or 18 books that I picked up this week.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
6 books, and I think I've got 4 left. Rogue Planet number 2. It's Cullen Bunn. It's a Cullen Bunn space story, or a Cullen Bunn horror story in space. This one gets wild because you think the shit that is attacking the crew at the end of the first book is just about to yeet these fuckers out of existence, and they're like vegetable aliens that are possessed. You see some dude literally get consumed by a machine ghost. So like, imagine if Cyborg could just kind of like, shoot his hands at someone and penetrate them with wires and turn them into something like him, and you see that happen. I think this book's going to be wild. I picked up Sleeping Beauties number 1 on a whim, and this is Stephen King and Owen King writing together. And what you find out halfway through the book, there's like this quick shooting and blowing up of a meth lab, but then you find out, as one of the main characters, who's a woman who's the sheriff, is getting called in to check this, like, you see all this weird shit growing out of her eyes. You find out that there's a disease that is going after only women, that is like putting them in this cocoon-like state and preventing them from waking up. So I think that's going to be kind of an interesting kind of horror comic. Number 3 on the list is Red Border, issue number 2 of 4. If you liked Get Out, if you like weird, creepy, like horror, this follows the story of people who are illegally crossing the border from Mexico into the United States, seeking amnesty, because in book 1 they snitch on a cartel, and the cartel is coming after them, and then they end up staying the night at this family's house, who's like, we're gonna care for you. And you just get this weird, creepy, like Kathy Bates in Misery vibe. You get the Get Out vibe, and it's just good. And you could see the ending coming, or the end of the issue coming, but to the extent of how just fucked up it is, you wouldn't, like, I didn't see it of that magnitude. And I agree with Sam right now. I think horror comics are where it's at right now, that I think they're finding different things to kind of riff on to make these stories fun. Number 2 of the week is from Vault Comics, and it's Bleed Them Dry. And I think my actual review of this might have been 3 sentences long. And it was like, if you like vampires, you like ninjas, and you like crime, then you're going to want to figure out this, you know, or you're going to want to pick this book up. But it takes place in the year 3333 in a like technologically advanced city in Japan. And there's been a peace brokered between humans and vampires, and the book opens with a vampire getting murdered, and the threat to the peace is a huge thing, and it becomes a question of who done it. Is this really gonna break the stability of life between the immortals and the living? And it becomes a very, very interesting story. And I'm just in love with what Vault's got coming out. My first Vault book was Finger Guns, which I love a lot. And then that second book, I think, or Bleed Them Dry, I think is going to be a fun vampire story. And then my pick of the week, which was on, I think, everybody else's radar, and we all got an early tip from Wes Greer. And I don't know if Wes is still in the chat or not, but that Texas Blood #1 from Image. Jacob Phillips is he the son of the artist on Criminal, and it is his first solo project. You can tell that this book, they are setting up the long game, because 70% of this first issue is just like meaningless character exposition, where you are learning all about the 70-year-old sheriff on the front and his quest to find his wife's missing casserole dish. The other reason why I really loved it, and I talked about this during some poser time on Lost in Comics, is the QR code at the back. The way my brain works when I think about comics, and it may be the same for a lot of you, is I just start getting music playing in my head. And I know it's going to be a book that I can get into when I hear that soundtrack play. And as I've interviewed some authors, that's been the question that I asked them, either about the creative process and what they were listening to, or I'll be releasing my interview video tomorrow morning with the author of Dryfoot from Mad Cave Studios, which comes out in September. And I was like, all right, dude, what's your playlist? What's your soundtrack? And his answer was Asia's Heat of the Moment 5 times. So I like that, you know, more books are starting to include that musical element. The first one that I really saw do it was Tina Horn's Safe Sex, where at the back you've got a 10-song Spotify playlist to check out, and I think that's really, really cool. So those were my definitive rankings. I know that after putting my stack together and rewatching some of y'all's content this week, that I'm not too wildly off from everybody else, so that's why I'm not getting yelled at a bunch in the chat. Thank you for stopping by, and as always, have a good one.